Okay, we are live here. Hi, James.
Hey Mario, how you doing?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm doing pretty okay. Pretty okay. We've got a lot of tennis on. All over
Yeah,
the
have
shop.
you watched something already today?
I watched a little bit of Baez's match. I watched the first set, and it looked as though he was really cruising through it. But he's just been beaten by Lanya Struff in 3 sets in Monte Carlo. So the sort of first result from Monte Carlo has already taken place.
Yeah, I mean, Struff was also quarterfinalist last year, so kind of needs a good result to try to save his ranking, which depends a lot from this result and especially the final in Madrid.
Hmm.
So yeah, I actually did the same. I was watching a bit at the beginning, and then I had to turn off. So yeah, basically I I came back seeing totally another another result from what I was expecting by watching the first part of the match.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a bit like the Man United versus Chelsea match a couple of days ago, where like I left it free to United,
Oh yeah,
thinking it's fine, we've got the win, it's 95th minute, and then I come back and it's 4-3, and I'm like, whoa, what has happened here?
yeah. So here we are, to do this live commentary for the Estoril final between Hurkacz and Martinez. Were you expecting yesterday Martinez beating Casper Ruud? Martinez he's in form. He's playing well in this season so far. But probably Casper. It was liking maybe for most of us to think him being today in the final.
I mean, I must admit, as much as I expected a good level from Martinez, like you say, he won Girona last week, a challenger on the clay, and had already played a few matches. A few good matches earlier on in the tournament. I kind of expected Ruud to have found a way to have got through that match. I did not expect Martinez to be able to create such a high level throughout the entirety of the match, with only really 1 or 2 games in which there was a slight blip in his level. But for him to bring that high level of consistency and be able to eke out that win in the 3 hours that it took. I mean, all credit to Martinez. I mean, at an early stage of the clay season, you can generally say that those players that really like the surface, that can adapt really well to the surface, will do quite well. As Hurkacz just gets the first point. Yeah, well, looks like it gets the first point just there on my screen. It was still a major bit of a shock, though, that Ruud, somebody who loves the surface, who actively says that he marks this point in his calendar as the key point of his season. For him to lose and not to be able to defend his title again, if it was losing to another good clay court around somewhere in like 30 in the world, maybe you could understand earlier on, but certainly was a bit of a shock. And he had to go for medical treatment. Let's see if that hampers his abilities in Monte Carlo. I mean, he'll be quite fortunate for Monte Carlo because it was a top 8 seed. He'll be able to wait until Wednesday before he can play his second round match. Whereas Hurkacz, who we've got on the screen right now, is a 10th seed, and as such, will have to play on Tuesday against Britain's Jack Draper.
Yeah, and this is also not the only final we get today, because there is also right now the final in Marrakech going on between.
I'm really surprised, Mario, as an Italian, that you haven't demanded to John that the Matteo Berrettini is the front and center contest.
I mean, I didn't know, actually. I had this agreement with him since Tuesday or Wednesday, and I have to say that I really like this tournament in Estoril. So I was, usually every year I follow this event actually most closely than the other, the other 2 events going on during the week. So I was very fine.
It very much does feel like the start of the European clay should start in Estoril. In terms of, it's slap bang in a key part of Europe, and lovely climate. The clay looks the best, and Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and I'm really sad they haven't found a spot in the next year's calendar still, because I feel like this is a very, very good event. At least for my perspective. I've never been there, but there is a good venue. The crowd is good. Players also tend to like it. Usually, this is the tournament of the week, which gets usually also the highest quality field. This year we had a couple of top 10 players, and yeah, so I think it's a tournament that kind of deserves to stay in the calendar from my perspective. But yeah, let's see.
I completely agree. I mean, it's unfortunately, if you look at the calendar for next year, there's only really maybe 3 or 4 slots it could potentially go into, either where it usually is at the moment, but unfortunately there's 3 tournaments already scheduled for that week next year anyway. And maybe the week when it's Munich and Barcelona, they could potentially go in there, but then how good will the field be if there are 2 500s taking place in the same week as this tournament? And then the only other time you could possibly think about maybe the week before Roland Garros, but again, there's 2 events already in there, or heaven forbid, it gets moved over to the sort of like post Wimbledon clay period, which unfortunately sometimes maybe a bit of a death knell for a tournament, but maybe the only place it could be put. Now, if it did do that, it would make it the perfect European destination to go on holiday, because it'd be right in the middle of July on the beach, beautiful temperature. I would go every year if it was in July. Or like mid to late July, but I know it could be a bit of a death knell for its ability to attract those top names and have a huge amount of relevance.
Yeah, I mean, well, we have just seen the first game. Hurkacz held pretty comfortably. Yesterday, also Hurkacz also needed 3 sets to get past Garin.
I mean, I think that was a really impressive victory from Hurkacz yesterday.
Yeah,
and actually, a lot. I mean, okay, so he hasn't really played anyone. I mean, forgive me, but I don't think is Garin in the top 100 in the world? I don't think he is he?
Well, actually, not in this week's ranking, but still, I feel like on this court on clay, it's still a good test in my opinion.
Yeah,
it doesn't really feel like someone completely out of the top 100. He feels like a player that you have to beat him.
No, I think it's as struggling with the cameras again in Estoril, which is always good. But no, I think that he beat Garin, he beat Choinsky, or Hoinsky, I think is the Polish pronunciation for it. And then the other person he beat, who was the person?
Llamas Ruiz.
Llamas Ruiz. They're all 3 very good clay quarters that have players there for third surface. Okay, they're all ranked outside the top 100 as of this week. But to get through all them is a very good sign for a man that doesn't necessarily enjoy the surface and actually has it as his surface. And we're in a bizarre situation where all the jokes that Hubie has been made about himself on the clay, that he is 2 sets away from picking up a clay court main tour title, which is just I think nobody really would expect. And I'm sure the tournament director, although he probably did want to have a rude Hurkacz final just because it's a bit more blockbuster. To have one of the 2 players that he's probably paid a lot of appearance fee money to have them and him in the final, I'm sure I'd be very pleased with.
Yeah, there is a previous match the 2 have played on clay, with Hurkacz winning that one too, even if it was a close 3-setter in Monte Carlo. But yeah, I feel like this week, it's been a progression in terms of the level of the opposition, even if it's not rude. Still, I feel like this is on paper the most difficult match for Hurkacz. This is probably even more than Garin on paper, considering what Martinez is doing this year. There were already good signs and before this week, and this week, of course, he has maintained the good promises. First ever top 10 win yesterday. Let's see also how he will react physically. Yesterday was very tough for Martinez, more than 3 hours on the court, and also against someone like Ruud. So a match which is also very, very physical in terms of how it developed. But yeah, he held here to 30, one game all.
Yeah, it's just not too bad for Martinez in that one. I do want to say they do a great marketing job. The Estoril people with the amount of pink hats that people have got on their heads. I feel like I need to get all these pink hats. I'm sure John and Damien has got a few of them already sort of stored away. Yeah. So it's I mean, who do you think is going to win? Always the big question. Who do you think is going to win?
I think Hurkacz is going to win this one. While I'm more doubtful about Marrakech. If I have to predict, let's say, an upset, I mean, Berrettini is lower ranking than Carballes, but, he feels like, I mean, the favorite also. He has also picked already 3 clay court title, Berrettini, so he likes playing on the clay also. But I feel like that match feels...
Berrettini we usually count as sort of a natural surfaces player. He loves the clay and he loves the grass. Seems to be the two of his favourite surfaces.
Yeah, still I feel like that one is, in my opinion, the one where I feel that the opponent can win, Carballes. I won't be shocked if that is going to happen.
I must admit, I was very for Matteo's development. To beat Navoni yesterday, I thought was an incredibly good result. Just down to the fact that Navoni's already had a lot of time on clay already this season and plays a lot like Hubert as well. It gets a lot of balls back, gets a good shape on them. Had to really make Matteo work for every point that he got. And for him, Matteo to be able to get through that match yesterday it was incredibly good for him. And I think at the moment it's 4-4 at the moment between them in the first set. I know that Hubert was a break up earlier on, but Matteo came back. Has managed to break back, so it could go either way. I think that certainly could be a free setter on that one.
Yeah, for me the most important thing was also how yesterday's match against Navone was, because actually also having dropped the first set and having been strong enough to come back to stay there playing at a very high level consistently throughout 3 sets, it's also important for his physical state. Against Murray, for example, I know that there was humidity, there was the heat, so there were particular conditions, but against Murray in Miami, the physical state was not perfect, and this week he also has demonstrated to be, actually, I would say, perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's been ridiculously hot in Marrakech this week. I've seen by the weather as well. Like most days it's been mid-30s on the temperature, whereas thinking about Estoril and also Charleston on the women's tour, that is actually they've been much colder, high teens, low 20s every day. So to be able to do what Matteo's been doing in mid 30 degrees is pretty good going over in Morocco.
Yeah, I mean when it's hot. Probably it's also better for these kind of players because the clay gets a little bit faster.
Yeah, it bounces up a bit high, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah, usually, the worse the weather is, the heaviest the clay gets. Also, we saw, for example, Medvedev liking it in Rome last year, but usually this kind of player prefers when it gets a bit quicker. Yeah. Now on that final they are just holding quickly and comfortably, so it's very close set.
Yeah, it is a very close set, and Hurkacz was able to hold serve again. It looks like, and I just caught on the commentators before they started, just to make sure we concentrate on Estoril, that we'll be concentrating probably on loads of matches as they're going along as well, just what's happening in Berrettini's one, in Marrakech, but also Estoril, mainly Estoril. That there's a bit of a sea breeze that's sort of blowing onto the court at the moment. I think the temperature's around about 19 degrees. It looks quite overcast. I don't think it will rain, but it doesn't look like, it's not glorious sunshine that the organisers would hope that it would be at this time of year.
Yeah, it hasn't been perfect, but in the end, they have made it. So this is the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the risk. I mean, it was I looked at the weather at the start of the week before the tournament started, and it really looked like it was going to be, nip and tuck if they were able to get, if there weren't going to be massive backlogs to take place on certain days and double matches or whatnot. And I think barring the Tuesday session, which was a complete washout, they've been able to basically complete a round a day, which has been really helpful for the tournament organisers, so that they can come into today with just having to get the doubles and the singles finals knocked off. As the sun just starts to try and break through a bit, you can see the shadow for both players. But I've also had a look at the weather for the weather for Monte Carlo and Barcelona, just to keep a track of what the temperatures are looking like for future events as well. And it's looking slightly colder. I mean, not necessarily rain. It's annoying. They've just seen that Liverpool have gone 1-0 up. Damn it! We've got notification through on that one. It's very much, although it doesn't look like it's going to be rainy, it's going to look like a little bit colder and a little bit windier than it was, say, this time last year.
It's weird, I have to admit, because here, I'm in Italy, southern Italy. Here, there has been the Challenger in Barletta. I've been there a few times, and here, it's super warmer than how it was last year. Hopefully it's gonna stay that way also for Rome, because last year in Rome it was awful.
Oh, fingers crossed. I mean, that rain in Rome was just comical by the end of how much rain there was throughout the entirety of that tournament.
I still can't believe it, because it's May, it's not still summer, so it happens in Rome that sometimes it rains, but not like last year. It was unbelievable.
It felt like the only time that the sun shone was on the final set of the final, and on the men's thing for Sunday, and that was it. It was just a complete washout.
Yeah, and the most hilarious thing is that the week after, the weather was incredible. It was really the summer, and so it hasn't been the best last year. We hope for a good weather this year.
Yeah. It's usually us Brits with Wimbledon and Queens and whatnot that were like, come on, just hold off rain, just hold off.
A good drop shot here. Very good one. I don't know if you are. I'm ahead of you. I don't know.
I'm currently 40-30.
Yeah, me too. So you watched the drop shot.
Yeah, I watched the drop shot, had the replay of it. I think we're on the same keel, which is good.
Yeah.
No, it's looking good. I mean, Hurkacz. I would slightly favour Hurkacz, but I could see this going 3 sets for in this match here. Up the line, attempt by Martinez. No luck though. Double fault.
That's double fault. Yeah.
Yeah. So early pressure here on the Martinez serve by Hurkacz. I know the commentators yesterday, not commentators, sorry, but one of the presenters that interviews the players on court afterwards went, no tiebreakers this match, Ubi. Are you okay?
Yeah. By the way, to answer to Ghost, Martinez of course likes to play on clay. He has this very good forehand. I mean, I feel like he's one of these players who actually enjoys also when conditions are a bit quicker. So I would say, for example, he's one of these players I won't love to face in clay courts like Madrid also. But this is the most favorable surface for him, but also because for his ranking and being Spanish, he actually plays a lot on clay action. But he lately
match by Ubi there. I really had to walk back onto that one. Sorry, was this going on that bit?
Yeah, was a very good point. Built very well by Hurkacz.
I think my favorite thing I remember from the beginning of the season when it comes to Martinez, as you were saying about him building a lot of his calendar around the clay courts, was I think him and Munar were drawn together It was the first round in Montpellier, which is that indoor hard event before just after Australian Open. And I think they demanded that they have their match on the Monday because both players were flying off to Cordoba literally the week later to do the clay court swing straight away.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, just get our matches done quickly. We know we're going to lose. Just one of us will get a victory, and then we're back to where we actually want to play. And I believe Martinez is probably one of those players that, my favourite player to talk about when it comes to a clay court mercenary, Albert Ramos Vinulas, that will specifically build his entire calendar around the clay courts and only will venture onto hard courts if he absolutely has to.
You have a chance to hit on the clay court if your choice this week. Houston, Charles, and Estoril, Monte Carlo, Marrakesh. Which one and why?
Ooh.
Just focusing on the court itself. I choose Monte Carlo because I love the venue and the court. If you talk about the court, I mean how it plays, I feel I would be okay. I mean, I live in southern Italy near the sea. We play mostly on clay in our clubs, so I feel like it should be good for me. Meanwhile, Hurkacz has found.
Do you want me to answer it? Because you said, what did you say? So you're going for Monte?
Yeah, Monte Carlo.
The thing is, Monte Carlo is technically next week. So if Monte Carlo wasn't on your options, Mario, and you had to do a tournament that started on Monday, like last month.
Oh yeah, I don't know. It was in the options here. That's why I chose Monte Carlo.
Yeah, sorry, Ghosty, but I personally, I'm not counting it. Monte Carlo to me is expected to be a tournament for next week. This week, I'm thinking about the 250s and the 500 in Charleston. So which one would you have to pick, Mario? And I'll tell you my one.
I'm picking Estoril.
Estoril, yeah, for Estoril.
Yeah, because Monte Carlo is in qualis, and actually there have been a first round match already, and 2 are underway. So
yeah, there's an interesting doubles match which is scheduled for the Princes, which is it's Rublev and Kachanov versus Medvedev and Safulin. So
yeah,
the ultimate Russian showdown is taking place on that court in a couple hours time or whatnot. So for me to answer the question, so I would have to go. Because on the one hand, it's quite chilly at the moment in a lot of those locations, and I don't really want to be going anywhere cold. I've been in the UK too long. I don't want to be having any more cold weather. But certainly, I would favour Estoril because I like the idea of actually going to a European tournament. But if I had to pick it based on the trophy you pick up, it has to be Marrakesh because that's a cracker of a trophy that they'll get at the end. Which is basically it's a proper oversized, silverware type trophy. So that would sort of skew me that way. But generally though, I would want to be playing in Estoril. The crowds look awesome. The location's brilliant. As you say, the clay will be. The way the clay will act and perform will be similar to how the clay will be acting and performing in a lot of the other major events, like say Monte Carlo, Barcelona, Rome, and then on to Roland Garros. Whereas you don't get those certainties, certainly with the clay in Houston and Marrakesh, which are which certainly act slightly different to what will eventually end up being the Roland Garros clay will act. And then Charleston, of course, is a completely different type of clay. It's the American clay. Which is much slower than European thingy clay, and I don't particularly think playing in altitude in Bogota would be helpful to try and get myself ready for Roland Garros. So I'm taking the strategic long view of the reason why I would pick Estoril because it has the clay which is most similar to what the Grand Slam clay will end up being.
Yeah, it's totally fair. Here. Hurkacz started very well. Martinez probably looks not as explosive as usual, even when the rallies start. But yeah, so far Hurkacz has started very well. Let's say that he's serving okay, and is trying to be aggressive with the backhand, which is also the shot which he is more solid for him. And yeah, so let's see if he keeps going, or if there will be room for any kind of comeback for this. It's difficult when you have someone who can serve like Hurkacz, but maybe on clay the serve is not as much as important as it can be on other kind of courts. Let's see.
And Berrettini's just got a break as well.
Yeah, from 40-15.
Yeah, he's just got the break after doing a brilliant drop shot, drew Cabas-Baena to the net, and the return by Cabas-Baena just went along the baseline. So Berrettini now coming out after the sit down to serve the first set in Marrakesh.
Yeah, but Berrettini for me, I always wish him, well, also because he is Italian. So I'm happy if he gets good results. But it's not the tennis player I'm looking forward the most to watch. It's not the kind of tennis I tend to prefer.
You're not a fan of big serve, big forehand.
Usually, I like very much the players who excels on the backhand side.
Okay,
Usually, I'm more tempted to watch them.
Backhand is one of the worst on tour.
I don't care if one-hander of two-handers. If they have a good backhand, usually I tend to like more. But it's okay, on grass, I have to admit that it is very fun to watch him. He plays very, very well. So
I'll tell you what, Hurkacz is looking like we say, Hurkacz been an early break up here, 4-1 up. It's he's incredibly solid at the moment.
Yeah.
Hurkacz
is that kind of player. Of course, he depends a lot on how he does on the serve, but he can actually move pretty well for his height, and tends to defend the court also, quite well, I would say. So if you're not, I'd say again explosive, it's difficult to to put him away. He tends to stay in the rally. Maybe it doesn't steal your sight, when you get into the rally, but he can also be very, very solid, especially on the defensive side. So yeah, Martinez so far needs to be a little more focused on what he has to do when, also when the rally gets longer.
He does indeed. I mean, a classic sort of statement is that, after such a big, intense victory yesterday, especially how late yesterday that victory took place in, it's very hard then to come back the next day and try and replicate that same form. And if he was playing somebody more closer to his ranking at the moment, he could probably have a bit of a dip, but still a chance of getting through. But then, it's a case of going, right, you've beaten one huge player. Now you have to go back, come back again tomorrow when the stakes are even higher for the title. And you've also then got to beat somebody who's just as big a player as well. It's like, it's very hard to expect anyone really to be able to replicate such a form that he did last night.
Yeah, to answer the question, Berrettini is better on grass than Tsitsipas, but because I agree overall that we can compare them in terms of, their strengths and limitations. But in my opinion, I still prefer Tsitsipas forehand, honestly, despite, probably Berrettini has even more power. But I feel like, if I have to choose any of the two for, doing a serve +1 forever, I would go maybe for Tsitsipas. And Berrettini has maybe a more solid, is more solid with the slice. So even if the surface is faster, he can, stay a little bit more in the rally from that backhand side. But overall, I think that there's room for comparison, in terms of what are their, strengths and their, let's say, more or less limitations, let's say like that, even if of course there are some difference which makes, for example, Berrettini better on grass and I feel like that.
Yeah, he's currently up against it as well. He was he's love 40 down now, love 15 now, 15 love down, 15-40 down. So he's going to do his best to try and sneak his way out of this service game at this point.
Yeah, Berrettini is actually suffered a very painful defeat against Carbayes in the past in 2022 because it came on indoor Harcourt and in Italy. So in front of the home crowd after more than 3 hours. So
was that the match? Was that the match in Florence?
Yeah, in Florence.
Oh yeah.
But after
that, they had the court issues where they had to not in Florence, but it was in Naples where they had to get the court floor from the court.
Yeah, exactly. He got the revenge.
Naples.
He got the revenge then, Berrettini, because they played twice in 2 weeks. In that,
he's recovered all 3 breakback points from Caballus Baena, so it's now juice on that match.
A mistake on the forehand here. I mean, it is the shots where Hurkacz has got a little more troubles. Let's say if Martinez can try to, have a chance.
Oh, that was a commanding forehand by Hurkacz.
Yeah. Hey, this is more or less a similar start as yesterday because Hurkacz got an early break against Garin.
He did. That helped. That certainly helped him in that match. Carry on. Sorry about Mario. Berrettini has set point. As we said, it's all happening at the moment.
Yeah, he has taken the set.
Oh, you're ahead of me now.
So 3 break points saved consecutively here. And 7-5. I mean, I still can see, rooms for something to happen. Seems like a very close match, considering also the break points, that both players had.
I mean, I guess generally the thing, yeah.
Why didn't Garin concede a point against Borges? I mean, I cannot answer this question. I don't really know. Yeah, I watched the volley.
Oh, the point against Borges. I think nobody really knew what was that. I don't know.
I mean, he said that, it was more or less the same situation from Djokovic Nardi, and Garin had, the same perspective as Djokovic. He said that Borges stopped the point in his opinion, but the difference is that between Djokovic and Nardi, the umpire took the right decision, and here it hasn't happened. But I mean, I don't know. I think it was really clear. I think he did a mistake. He will probably regret that, but yeah, it happens.
Sean saying that Damien must be giddy with excitement as a Polish fan in Estoril. Certainly could be. He's in his guy Hubert. Now just 1 game away from taking the first set. It's good to see the crowd's absolutely packed in Estoril as well.
Yeah, I was trying to judge Hurkacz's season. Yeah, I mean, good season overall. Especially if he gets to win this title.
Yeah, let's have a look. That's a good question, actually. Let's go have a look to see.
Yeah, I mean, could have done a bit better probably at Sunshine Double, even if Hurkacz lost to Dimitrov in Miami, and then Dimitrov, proved to to be very tough that week to beat, and it was
Yeah, I mean, it all started,
close.
of course, with that great. I think looking for his season to start in January. So of course he lost that match to Zverev that realistically he shouldn't have lost in the
Yeah, I mean,
in the final.
let's say this way, that if he wins the title here, then he has a slam quarterfinal and now a title. So I would say that he can be satisfied with the
Because it
first
was
part of his season.
as you say, he got to the quarters in Aussie, which is excellent. Beat Katsu, Mensic, some pretty good players, and lost in the 5
He will
sets.
probably have some regrets for that quarterfinal, in my opinion.
I'm sure he's a bit disappointed that he couldn't defend his title in Marseille.
I remember that they got into the final set, and Hurkacz at some point seemed to have the whole momentum behind him in that quarterfinal. But yeah, still a loss to Medvedev in the Australian Open is understandable. Let's say like this. Love 15, second serve. No, he doesn't even need to challenge, I think, because Hurkacz
conceded.
I mean, conceded the replay the point, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, he had returned, so. Yeah, we know that Hurkacz from this point of view is always very, very,
That's
correct.
A very good drop shot by Martinez. What was that? Sorry, Damien, you were saying about Hurkacz.
No, I mean, I was just saying that we know that Hurkacz, when it comes to this kind of thing, he is very, very, very correct and polite against all the players. I mean, by the way, I wanted to say that here in Barletta, the Challenger, we had OK Live. As from what I've understood, the organization ATP, but also WTA are testing it in some lower events, because from next year it is mandatory also on clay. And I mean, from the matches I watched, everything was fine. There hasn't been anything, particularly wrong to say.
No, that's good. It's good. I mean, it's good to see, smaller tournaments being able to access some of the technology that some of the bigger events have only really been able to sort of use in recent times.
For 30, there was a bit of a chance here for Hurkacz, but the slice is not precise. A game point for Martinez.
Yeah, the one thing Martinez does want to do is at least try and stay serving first at the beginning of the second, if entirely possible. Oh, and frames it by Hurkacz, so that will mean that Hurkacz will come out and serve it.
It happens.
I feel like it hit the bottom of the frame of the racket as well, not even the top.
Yeah, so Martinez held. Hurkacz is now serving for the set.
So the one thing I do love about this time of year with tournaments is that the amount of them look like putting flowers along the side of the court. So it just gets to see the sort of all different flowers that they want to try and promote for their area. So it shows spring has sprung, almost.
Yeah, Hurkacz before this week actually never was, not even on a semi-final on clay in his career on the main tour. I mean, it's not his favorite surface, so he tends to play only the biggest events. Yeah. So it's okay. But he was in Estoril last year, didn't go well for him.
No, it was. I mean, as you say, I think the big thing is that he doesn't plan his season around clay, and that's part of the reason why he had only ever got to quarterfinals before. Probably only really made seeding at the major events, in which, if the clay court stuff is not really your main bag, as you say, you'll play on the men's tour, you'll play Monte Carlo, you'll play Madrid, you'll play Rome, and they'll be your only build-up tournaments before going on to Roland Garros and playing the French Open. But then there are certainly other players that the clay court season is the key part of their season, and will either play a lot more tournaments during this during the springtime on the clay, or they'll go and play in South America in February, or they'll choose to go and play some of the July clay court tournaments as well to pick up as many points and wins on the surface as possible. Hurkacz falls into the former camp instead of the latter. But
it's also another thing to consider is that Hurkacz usually tends to do very well in Miami. So playing in the first week of the clay season in the small events is not as easy as for other players. This year he had the chance, and so far he's taken it.
Yeah, but even so, a couple of years ago, when we didn't have the 2 week clay court masters, there was still that 2 weeks between Monte Carlo and Madrid, in which there were a range of 250s and a 500 that players could have gone into.
Yeah, so 6-3 here. Hurkacz serving very, very well. I mean, when Hurkacz puts 75% of first serves in, it's very difficult.
That is somebody who's rocked up with this. My games. I mean, not only 83% of first serves won, 83% of second serves won as well. I mean, yikes! I mean, that is hand me the title now levels of serving. I mean, if he's able to keep it, it'd be hard for him to be able to keep this level up into the second set.
Yeah, so watching some other results. Choric is up a double break on Bublik.
How does that not surprise me?
Yeah, and actually Bublik still has to hold his serve once so far.
He's not. Bublik is not a fan.
It's okay. Nothing particular happened. They still on serve. I mean, the thing about Bublik is that he actually had some runs on the clay. It all depends on himself, At times he decides to hate the clay and to, but I'm not watching the match, so I'm not really able to. Yeah,
I mean, fundamentally, I know you say he's had some runs on the clay, but he has actively told people that he doesn't like the surface. He just tolerates it for the time period that it's on the tour for, and that as soon as possible he'll be on the grass and playing Stuttgart. So it's he's he'll do his bit during this time period, but he won't enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not the biggest Bublik enjoyer, so to not be mean, I will shut up and stop.
You don't want to say anything to offend anyone there, Mario?
No, I mean, first of all, I'm not interested in if you like the clay or not. So I don't care if you have something to say in your post-match interviews or something like that. I don't really enjoy players who try to be funny in this way. I don't think there's anything funny.
I think Mario's gone. Okay, so I probably think Mario's internet has slightly died out there.
Yeah, the internet didn't want me to keep talking about Bublik, so let's stop here.
Yeah, the internet's a huge Bublik fan that absolutely loves
Another thing I really hate. Another thing I really hate is the new thing they do for UTS when they filmed that clip about the dinner.
You don't like it?
It depends. I feel like you just I'm okay with them talking and sharing things about themselves and all this stuff, but I feel like you should take your fellow player's name out of your mouth. I have this feeling about that.
Okay, I mean, barring the one that was all the French players speaking in French and I couldn't understand a single word of it, I really quite when you get some good speakers. I mean, I think the one that worked really well was the one that had Eubanks and there was one with Eubanks and Rublev that I think worked really well, and then there was another one with Eubanks and Tiafoe. And the interesting thing is that, okay, not only do we, if you get some really good speakers that really articulate what they are thinking and what they're saying really well, it can really make it an engaging conversation. But you can also see the types of personalities of each player in those settings.
No, that's right.
The interesting thing I found with the episode with Eubanks, Tiafoe, and Sheldon was that we've got this image of Sheldon as being this sort of like larger than life, doing the phone celebration, really getting involved with the crowd.
No, that was fine. It depends. It depends on what they are talking about, and
yeah. But one thing I noticed from that watching that the hour clip with those three players was that actually the main people that were speaking and really talking to each other were Tiafoe and Eubanks, and Sheldon rarely actually gave any of his opinions or gave any sort of voice to some of the topics that were being discussed. And it was interesting that he was actually a little bit more introverted during those sort of discussions, whereas we'd expect Tiafoe, he comes across as an eccentric individual on court. He's an eccentric individual off court. That was noted. And of course, Eubanks, with his working commentary, we know that he's going to be a very good speaker. So I found that really interesting. I mean, of course, they've got to make sure you get a good balance. I think the one they did quite recently, which had Demonor, Ruud, and team in Oslo, that worked really well because all three players contributed similar amounts. I mean, it worked really well because they kind of tracked Ruud as almost like the chair of this meeting, somebody who was directing conversation.
No, I totally agree because when there are polite players, I'm totally fine with it.
But I think there was one time it was the one with Rublev and Eubanks. I think this was the one in Frankfurt where they had Jan Struff, and for the entire hour he said one word, it felt like, for the entirety of that. He just ate his food and that was it. I mean, Schwartzman gave some really good opinions. It turns out Schwartzman swears like a trooper, which is interesting to note as well. But he was like, okay, like clearly Struff was just told he had to do this as part of some sort of like marketing thing, but he wasn't going to say a word. He put one word answers into questions and then that was it.
Here there are some break points.
Yeah, Hurkacz is already looking to get a break in the thing he set. Let's see how it goes here. Good cross court by Thingy. Martinez staying in front. Oh, clips the net. Hurkacz comes to the net. Doesn't put it away though. Hurkacz may live to regret that point. Clipped the net. He came forward and just basically gave it straight back to Martinez.
Yeah,
should have gone cross court on that one.
He's been unlucky.
But then this is even unlucky. Clips the net. So Hurkacz unable to get a racket. Gets the top of his racket onto it. Okay. Tobias Ben has just smashed his racket on the floor. Okay, second break point there for Hurkacz. Good return down the line by Martinez. Just about gets back by Hurkacz. Cross court by Hurkacz. Cross court by Martinez. Cross court by Hurkacz. Down the line. Cross court again. Just about keeps in. What a backhand by Hurkacz. Wow.
Very good. Silent breakup.
Oh, he really had to work from that. He was pushed from one side of the court to another. Call him Hubie Claycatch, not Hubie Hurkacz.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just say that usually tennis aggro. I don't vibe with people who are like, I have to be funny at all costs. I feel like there's this kind of vibes. And also, if you are unhappy, with something. I'm okay with people being genuine and authentic, but at times there are, I feel like it's not always the time to speak. I have this, this is my opinion. That's why I cannot vibe with this kind of players. Even
Mario's unfortunately cut out a bit again. We'll just hopefully wait until his
yeah,
stream.
every time I try to take a dig at someone, the internet. Yeah, it's just how I am, and I feel like there are right times and place to say things, and that's just my opinion. But I'm not. It's not God's word, so it's I'm totally fine, of course, with people disagreeing.
And we have another break as well, not in the Estoril final, but in the Marrakesh one. Berrettini now a set and a break up against Caballas Baena.
Yeah.
It is.
While for the first time, Hurkacz is in, let's say, little bit of trouble. Love 30.
He's in a bit of trouble here, isn't he, Ubi? Love 30 down on his serve, but he's got a big one. And he's set, and he's 15-30. That serve can get him out of trouble. I tell you what, if you ever got caught in a police station, just needs to whack out his racket and hit a few balls, and they'll be released without charge.
Bro, they've always liked Casper. I'm totally fine with him.
Backhand exchanges between both players. Oh, really pushes Martinez back there. Hurkacz with that one. Martinez is back into it. Down the line. What a backhand! Oh, really into the defense. Pushed into the corner. That backhand is working wonders for Hurkacz at the moment. Martinez comes to the net. Unable, looks as though all the while he's got the points sorted. That backhand just about gets it past Martinez and onto the
Unbelievable.
island. Wow. Oh, has a beautiful bit of spin on it as well, just to take it away from Martinez. Turning into Damien here, turning into a bit of a
Let's say that
plan.
here we couldn't really tell which Polish was hitting that ball. if Hurkacz or maybe Iga Świątek was similar, sliding,
Oh, again, Hurkacz. He is on it. He is decided. He is winning this. He would join if he could see this through, he would join a pretty illustrious group of players that have won a main tour title on both hard, grass, and clay.
I don't know, Ghost. I was a bit more like that before. Right now I'm in a period where I'm a bit tired of things like controversies, something like that. In the end, I watch tennis to have fun, have fun about the game. I don't want to really have bad vibes from it. At times, okay, but in my opinion, there are some players who get over the line a bit too much, in my opinion, and in the end, it's a bit tiring. To love, there was a bit of a chance here, but Hurkacz played very well actually to prevent anything bad to happen for him.
I mean, that was a brilliant bit of magic there by Hurkacz to get out. Oh, what a drop shot by Martinez. We are getting it all today at the moment. Great escape and honestly a brilliant drop shot. Just literally the place that fell on. I mean, you couldn't get any closer to the net, a drop shot closer to the net as you tried.
Yeah, about this perspective. For example, for me, when you are, let's say, when you are Nick Kyrgios, for example, and you reply to a tweet saying, something bad about Carreño Busta just because he, according to you, he wouldn't even be in top 50 if Clay didn't exist, which information was also wrong because we all know which kind of player Carreño Busta is.
Yeah,
Um,
he's an all
I
courter.
don't find that funny,
Hmm.
I find that just disrespectful. If it happened to me, I won't probably share, a word ever again with him, because I feel like some things are, mm, not everything is about you and what you like and what you dislike and what you would like it to be. So I feel like, the acceptance that there are different kind of player, different kind of courts, different kind of conditions, that the tennis is not always the same. I feel like he's one of the basic things of, of the game, but it's just my opinion, Ghost.
No,
Of course.
I must say, Marriage, to jump in on what you're talking about, that I think the variety change that we see in tennis is actually one of its standout assets. We're not always on one surface all the time, and that if we did every single tournament on hard courts, this sport would get pretty boring pretty quickly. If we did that for 10 months of the season. Whereas the fact that we have hard courts going onto clay courts and clay courts playing completely differently, and then having some players that necessarily wouldn't be good on the hard court being really good on the clay court, really creates different aspects of the season, and it means that we get to see different styles of play. I mean, and then from that we then follow on to the grass season, and then the different styles of play that pop up on the grass as well. But it adds that variety, and variety is always key. That you need that in any form of entertainment, really, to ensure that it has longevity, and that you maintain that staying power for people to stay watching and really engaging in your sport and in your content.
Yeah, and also I just think that, if another player is up there with you in the ranking, getting the points in another way, let's say, what's the bad thing about that? I don't really see him. If you get to face him on the court, just beat him on the court, and that's it.
Mm.
That's how I feel
I
about
mean,
Tsitsipas.
the only argument I could possibly see, Mario, would be how getting points in one type of tournament can affect where you're seeded, say, at another type of tournament. So some of the complaints that some people raise is that a player could do really well on the hard court tournaments, get a really high seeding on a clay court tournament, but in reality, they are not that good on a clay court tournament, and they end up just either going out early and then really, blowing open a field, or getting a bit of an unjust advantage. And I know some people would prefer the old Wimbledon model, which was that they actually took grass court performances from the year prior as their main consideration for who gets seeded in those events, and actually it trying to lead to a bit more of a fairer, more balanced draw. But that's the only slight argument I could see into that, if that makes sense. Martinez just about holds on there.
Yeah, was a now or never game, let's say. Yeah, Gosta, I just repeat that I'm not saying that, everyone should think about these things just like me. I'm just expressing my point of view, of course. Of course it can change. Yeah, but absolutely. I'm not the biggest, Zverev or Tsitsipas fan. So I'm perfectly aware of, what. So yeah, but overall, I'm also not that kind of person who you make a mistake and I cancel yourself from, of course I'm not like that. You know, I just have, an opinion about also the way, for example, I like the drama on the tennis courts and all these things, but I don't like when players make it look like they are doing the most difficult job ever. Like all the drama and controversy after the Rublev's incident in Dubai. Especially for someone like Rublev, I'm okay. It's not the end of the world. I don't feel like, I know that you are subjected to pressure and all this stuff, but in the end, it's your choice. And if you want to be who you are, you also have to manage the pressure better because it's the basic part of your job.
Yeah, I mean that Rublev incident was. I mean, I think actually there was a podcast Abigail Johnson did with Gil Gross to do with actually talked about that incident and about Rublev and about how we as a I say we as a sort of tennis, the general parts of like tennis media over the proper people that I say proper people like those that like run proper big tennis accounts or big tennis TV and whatnot, where us watching him have meltdowns and then clipping it and selling it as entertainment is actually inherently bad because we're basically using somebody having a mental breakdown and suffering some real mental health difficulties on court as funny and as entertaining, and in reality that shouldn't be something that we should be promoting as a key facet of our sport. That makes sense.
Ghost, I don't remember. I don't remember now what happened.
Thing is, I think the Kokkinakis Munar thing. I think that was about Munar shouting during a point or something, if I remember correctly, or like really over celebrating something that happened that really annoyed Kokkinakis, and it really added some tension to that match.
The over celebration. Oh, it's difficult. I mean, over celebration. I don't remember even what which part of the match it was. Let's imagine the opponent misses the smash, but it's match point. Okay, who cares? That the point came after the opponent because it's match point, so it's an important moment. But if you do that, for example, the same style, yeah, maybe not many can remember that. So but the same style Djokovic against Sinner in Davis Cup. But it depends, everything must be watched, from different perspective. Then yeah, but my point citing Rublev was not really, judging that episode in particular. It was mostly the reaction after, that I don't know. There is a bit probably, too much of victimization. I don't know if it's right as a word, but of these players. I didn't want to judge what Rublev did in particular in that circumstance. I was more judging when players use an excuse that they are under pressure. And I'm okay, but till a certain point.
It's one of those things in which you have to take out what the player and the very much you have to take out the incident. You have to remove the idea of the incident from your mind and have a look at what do you want the sport to be. Do we want a sport in which it's okay for lines officials to get shouted at in the face by players in a very aggressive format, is that something we want our sport to be? And if the answer is no, then you need to have repercussions in place to deal with any player that does do that. And although it was in such a crucial stage of the match, it was, what was it, 6-5, going 6-5. It looks like it's going to go to a third set tiebreaker right at the end. We don't want a sport where we have, if you don't want a sport in which players are going to be that aggressive towards line umpires, then you have to do something about it. And it was, and I think some of the rhetoric that came about afterwards saying, well, if there was electronic line calling, this wouldn't have happened, was completely the wrong message to try and pick out from that. It was, do you want to see that happening on a weekly basis? No, you don't. Then unfortunately there needs to be some repercussions, and disqualification was that repercussion. Does that make sense, Mario?
Yeah, I was watching the drop shot here.
Yeah, it was, you got away with that one.
No, Ghost, but at the same time, I think that tennis players are a bit advantaged by that because they are alone, and if they get disqualified, the match is over. It's not like in soccer when a player can get a red card and the match goes on, and it's not as tragic as it is in tennis. So tennis players has this advantage, in my opinion. I don't want a sport of saints,
but
there are some things that
just to go back on, I think what thing goes to say that. I think you have to be careful at going in terms of, this person lied. You have your starting basis as both a player and a fan needs to be that these are officials, these are trained individuals who are professionals who are doing their job. Yeah, okay, we watch football and we get annoyed if a referee makes a decision that we don't necessarily agree with, but these are trained individuals that know what they're doing, and they won't say anything unless they're absolutely sure. Now, if there is a situation where there could be something wrong, there will be an investigation and find that out. But generally, we have to show that level of respect to those officials, that they are doing their job to the best of their ability. If they see something or say something which is seen as against, what the rules of the game are, then we have to trust that what they're saying is true. You know what I mean, Mario?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Your starting point always has to be the line judges aren't going to lie. They're doing their job. And if they are lying, then that'll be found out. But in general, 99.99% of the time, they're going to be saying what they're saying is going to be true and right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, well, okay. Then again, I don't want to analyze now that episode over again because it's done. But I don't know, Nick. I agree with Nick. I mean, tennis and rugby are the only two sports I follow. Yeah, I watch soccer, but I call soccer because for us, I know that it's football. But I only follow my favorite team and nothing more. Because I don't really like it as a sport. I love my team, and I have this kind of unconditional support, but
thing is, I can also understand why people will think that they're being hard done by an official, because you say when you follow a certain team, if you're a huge Rublev fan, you're going to see a massive injustice, regardless of what may have actually happened in that incident, because you fully want Rublev to win. You want him to be found to be the innocent party and whatnot. It's like in football when your team gives away a penalty, you're going to absolutely say no, it wasn't a penalty. Look at him, he dived or something like that. Whereas if you're a casual observer, you'll look at it, you'll look at what happens, and you're about to give an unbiased opinion on what the result will be, and it probably would be a penalty in that scenario, or it probably would be some form of punishment for inaction.
Ghost, but in my opinion, it's not about that. For example, the most recent example we have, the mistake the umpire made in the Borges match. It must be recognized, and there have been consequences, of course, because if one misses, also umpires should be subjected to consequences, but that doesn't mean that Borg is allowed to say whatever he wants to the umpire, and say, I don't know, I cannot say anything because I don't want to use bad language. So in my opinion, it's always about having someone who judges how the umpire does in the match. The umpire has to be subjected to consequences, but it's not like if you do a mistake, then I can shout whatever I want to you.
Yeah, one thing, Nick. It came to my mind finally because your question was about hitting a ball person like a ball boy or a ball girl. I remember them saying about an incident with Tim Henman in the doubles in Wimbledon back in like the late 90s, where he ended up hitting a ball in anger just randomly, and it hit one of the ball girl in the art, or at least in the head, and he got disqualified from the doubles competition that way. That's the one I remember. Sorry, Mario. I just remembered that one.
Yeah.
As by the way, Berrettini is 5-1 up. He's rocking and rolling at the moment in the neck this set.
No, it's out. And Martinez could have had a break point. Yeah, I mean, but then just don't follow the sport. If you just believe that everything is, subject to corruption, I wouldn't follow a sport that I know it's all rigged and corrupt. So I don't get why, that's my point of view. For two, but here there was that 30 all point that could have changed maybe a little bit the script.
Yeah, I mean, Martinez has been getting chances, hasn't he? He's been opening the door a bit. He just hasn't just flung the door open yet on the Hurkacz serve.
Yeah, he's doing way better now. The match is more enjoyable here. If we compare to what it was in the first set, despite the score being more or less the same because it's one break as it was in the first set, but I feel like the level has got higher.
Oh, drop shot by Berrettini there. Just keeping an eye on his one here because he's 5-1 up at the moment, and it's Juice from the Caballas playing a serve. I think Nick there also raises a good point here. I think sports people should be able to challenge officials, but not aggressively.
Apparently, sorry if I'm interrupting you, but apparently Bublik has made a ball girl hit a ball or something like that with his racket. I don't know. I'm just trying to watch.
That match looks. He lost. At the moment he's 6-1, 4-1 down against Hurkacz. So
yeah, I mean, if something happened, we will know. From Tennis TV. Just
yeah. I was just saying. So Nick, I think you make a good point, and actually, it's all about making sure we have those systems in place to be able to do those challenges. So, for example, if a lines judge calls a ball out, we have Hawkeye or Fox 10. On hand, so that a player can then call on that software to challenge the decision that was being made, and we know that with that challenge that we can see if it was right or not. Similarly, if there was like a double bounce call, that you have the ability to the US Open to have those video replays. so that a lines judge can open up an iPad, watch the clip back, and see if there was a double bounce or not, or if somebody touched the net when on a certain point. Those are the sorts of good systems that we can have in place to challenge decisions that were made. If you feel as though it was wrong, but that isn't aggressive. That's just using factual based technology and systems. Does that sound right, Mario?
No, replying to Ghost, I don't think so. I don't
I'll
think
be
so.
more Nick.
Nobody.
Nick just saying that the ability for sports people to challenge.
No. At the end of the is Zverev less of a problem in your mind than Rublev? Of course, no. But the punishment we want is different. For Rublev, it's more than enough a disqualification. In that case, for Zverev, it's a total different thing. But I also say with pride how I think and how I am. So no issues at all. We can just stop talking about that. In the end of the day, we won't change our minds. Very good backhand to save this break point. What did he do?
Nick, I'm here for Collins winning tonight as well. I really hope she can pull it off against Kazakina.
I mean, I don't know. I'm totally neutral. I will just enjoy the match and see who the winner is going to be.
Or Danimal, as she wants to be called as well, Ghost. Well, at the moment, Hurkacz is doing his absolute damnedest to try and get a double break. Martinez is really just trying to hold back the gates as much as possible.
I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to see Collins, getting wins, especially knowing that it's her last year on tour. But I mean, I don't mind if Kasatkina, wins the title. That's what I mean. When I say that I am neutral, I feel like for both it's big deal for Collins because she has won 1,000 last week, and of course in her last season will be very big to keep winning, to keep having big titles. Also for Kasatkina it will be very nice. I appreciate her. Also the role she has in women's tennis. Her vlog, it's nice. The fact that she came out, she's an ambassador for the LGBT people also. So I'm okay. It's really two great competitors, great people and great players.
I'm going to go a little bit more unpartisan. Danielle Collins is an absolute baller, and I want her to absolutely play one of the matches of her life later this evening, and hopefully win the title. There we go. We've gone from measure to out there.
Yeah. It's not Pegula. I mean, if it was Pegula, I wouldn't have been neutral because I'm very, I really like Jessica.
Yeah, I like JPEG.
Mm. Oh, it's out. So this game
out.
Yeah,
I
so this
thought
game has
Martinez had got
handled.
that sorted there.
Oh, Berrettini won. And Choric won too. So
I was also catching what probably going to be the last point from the Berrettini match. There we go. Mateo has won in Marrakesh.
I'm a little surprised.
7-5, 6-2. I mean, very comfortable in the end.
Yeah, very good.
He's a defending champion in the final as well.
In the end, let's say that saving those break points when he was serving for the first set has been crucial. At least in, considering how the second set went. Oh, is Manchester United winning?
Are they?
I know that. Oh yeah, so John should be very happy.
I'm too caught up. Oh, come on, vamos! They knew.
Yeah, that's right. The scoreline. About the scoreline, yes, you're totally right. 6-1, 6-1 for Choric.
I now got it on the phone. Sorry, John. You've now given me a third screen to look at. We're really engrossed in what we're saying here. I've completely forgotten about the United match. I went 1-0 down, and I was like, I just want to forget it all. Oh, that was a poor smash by Hurkacz.
Yeah. So now Berrettini has 4 titles on clay and 4 titles on grass. And still none on the hard courts.
He is he is Mr. Natural.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit weird for me because, I mean, in the end, he's an Australian Open semi-finalist,
From the top of your voice with Mateo winning it.
He's semi-finalist at both the hardcourt slams, so it's not like he hasn't got the level to win even a smaller title, ATP title on hardcourt, but he still has time if he's still if he's healthy. He should be able to do it someday.
I'm sure there'll be an indoor hardcourt title they'll pick up somewhere along the line.
I'm not sure. You know why? Because
Hurkacz thought it was Gael Monfils there and did a jump smash. Okay, so Hurkacz 5-3
yeah,
up.
he is 1 game away.
1 game away from picking up a clay court title. Oh, he just swats that away.
Curiously, would be 8th title for Hurkacz too.
8. Oh God, it's all symmetrical today, isn't it?
Yeah, 8th title, Ghost, and this is actually the 10th final, so he would be 8-2 in ATP Tour finals. The only losses came to Carreño in Canada. No, not doubles, only singles. The only losses would be Canada in 2022 against Carreño, and last year in Basel against Roger Aliassim, I think. Yeah, should be that one.
Martinez is just making a play to try and think Hurkacz serve it out. Oh, poor drop shot. Poor, even worse. Drop shot by Hurkacz on the way back.
Yeah, 5-4. So now he's going to serve for it. I wanted to ask you a question. Does this week changes anything in your perception about, Hurkacz's clay season? Maybe not that much, in my opinion. I mean, it's a great week for him and great to have, a title also on clay. But yeah, I still think that,
I think what it does is it then should remove the how do I describe it? The almost like the risk, or at least the perceived risk, of him going out early in tournaments to players ranked well below him, who may be good on the clay. Because if you're able to win a 250 title, beating a lot of players that he will come up against in round 1, round 2, or the first couple of rounds of the Masters and the Grand Slam on clay, that then removes that risk from him. In regards to against the better players, that is where you're right. It doesn't really change much because he hasn't really played anyone good, and it's only a 250 at this level. If he comes up against Alcaraz, I would fully expect Alcaraz still to beat him on the clay.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah.
But if he came up against a Pedro Martinez in the first round at Roland Garros, I'm not necessarily going to think it's an upset alert. I'm going to say he should be getting through this.
Oh yeah, then of course I disappeared. Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, so let's follow this game because it can be the last one. 30 love. So he is 2 points away. Forilov. Another big serve. Yeah.
Oh, so brilliant serving.
Match points.
Roulette.
Okay, serve the first one.
Ooh. There we go.
Yeah, he is a champion.
He is a
Estoril, first title on clay, 8th overall.
wow. I mean, what a great bits. Yeah, just well done, Hubie.
Yeah, great performance today.
Great
Was very
performance.
solid throughout the match. Did all he needed to do in order to, just make the edge he has because of his quality and the big serve, and play very well with the backhand, which is his most, natural shot. So yeah, very, very good job for him. Wins this title.
Joins an illustrious club of players like Medvedev, Murray, Zverev, who have all, current players that have won a title on every single surface. He's done something that not even his country.
I think.
I know this is a stat that Nick will bring up. That Iga Świątek, his fellow Pole, has not won a title on all three surfaces.
But she's younger. We have to admit that she's younger. And also, I would also say that the only surface she hasn't won yet is the one which gets fewer tournaments. So it's not that, it's more difficult.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you, Ghost, for staying here and, also helping us with the conversation. Yeah, Jane, don't worry, you are terribly late, but you are here. You've come right in time to see Hurkacz winning the trophy.
It's fashionably late, maybe we could say.
Yeah. So.
Also a quick match, hour and 24 as well. Like, it hasn't been a bigger.
Yeah, let's say what was in Hurkacz style,
It was a Hurkacz match, wasn't it?
Yeah, Hurkacz style, quite quick, not many rallies. Yeah, in the second set, there have been quite a few good rallies. I've enjoyed this set.
But just overall, so solid throughout that match. There was no real tips at all that you were worried about him. He just
15 aces in a 6-3, 6-4 on clay. So yeah, unbelievable. I think he can do well. Who knows? Maybe somewhere the draw also can open up a little bit for him, like it happened this week, for example. So let's say for sure. I think that we can. I say that Daniel Collins is the GOAT. But actually, she really has one of the biggest peaks on the WTA tour. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know if we would like to close, making a prediction about the two finals, Charleston and Houston. Who's going to win according to you?
Oh, good question. So I'm going to go Daniel Collins, of course, because I've already said about Charleston. I think she'll win it. She'll play some outstanding tennis, and I think she'll see it through on the end on that one. She'll just outpower Kasatkina. When it comes to Houston, that's a very good question. I do fancy Ben Shelton just to take it. It feels like a title that it feels like a match in which that he could very much win. And I know that Tiafoe is defending the title, but it just feels like to me Shelton might just about do that one.
Yeah, I have the same vibes, honestly. So my picks are the same as you. I stay, with Collins and Shelton for the two finals. But Ghost, before you leave, I have to say that we are waiting for Tommy Paul to be back. Yeah, I think that Shelton should win. I mean, Houston. I mean, he's the defending champion. Tiafoe, of course, I think that he likes to play there. But I feel like Shelton has something, that should be able to make the difference in the crucial moments. It can also be a very, very close one, of course, but I think that Shelton can have something a little bit more, to get over the line before Tiafoe.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Are we wrapping this up? Are we wrapping this up now, Mario?
yeah,
So
I think that we are wrapping this up. Again, congratulations to Hurkacz, and thanks to all the people who stay there with us. If you haven't subscribe to the channel, because there's a lot of coverage about tennis, both here with the live commentaries, with the weekly shows, and also with the people who are out there at the tournaments. So
like
yeah,
John and Damian in Estoril at the moment.
Yeah, and more things are coming for sure. So yeah, thank you, James, for staying here. It's been a pleasure for me to stay here with you.
Me too as well, Mario. Me too as well. We've got more, as the clay has just started, it's all shaping up to be a pretty decent decent swing, it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially because it is also played at our time zones, so it's even easier for us.
It's beautiful logging on. When I got the day off, but logging on at 10, 11 o'clock, play starting, and seeing it all through to 10 o'clock in the evening and going.
Yeah,
brilliant.
exactly.
I got my Monte Carlo clay cup as well, in perfect use.
Yeah. So again, thanks to everyone who stayed with us, and yeah, just bye and stay tuned. We will be back. Damon, sorry. Okay.